Talk about the rise of Philly sports.
Sure. Whatever. We're on live YouTube now. That's a way to start a show. You guys, they're going to be able to hear us pretty well. We're going to be able to do some comments. We got about 15 minutes. We're a little bit hungry, so we're going to be going out tonight. I know that everybody's dying to hear about that. So here we go. I'm going to log in right now, make sure that we are on live and we are rolling. And let's see who's no stream online. I thought it's rolling right now. Come on, come on. Should be on. No stream. How come you guys cannot watch this? One is waiting. Oh. Oh, man. Why isn't I thought it should be ready to start. You know? Start date. Starting it right now.
1969.
I'm starting it right now. Please stop.
Someone's in the chat.
I think it's working. Hello? Pigskin Pete, my guy. Pigskin Pete. He's from he's from South Carolina, guys. Pigskin Pete, guys. I'm not going to give out his address. I almost just did. I'm sorry, Pigskin. I'll delete this if you want. We are officially rolling here on Rover Sports. You guys are awesome. We got one person watching right now. Hey, Pigskin, I thought that game today completely and totally sucked, man. I thought John Fox is a despicable human being. He makes football awful to watch. John Fox, he is just so awful, Andrew. I mean, he won't unleash Trubisky. He plays to lose the football game. I am just so infuriated and pissed off at John Fox.
Honestly, one play that really stuck out with me, it was during the first half of the game, and they had like a 4th and 1 from the 50. It was just like an opportunity where if you want to win the game and your team has been losing all season, you take advantage of that opportunity, and he punched the ball away. I just thought, like, they're already down 6 to Detroit. They haven't had a lot of scoring opportunities. This is their chance to try to push their team.
They made the Detroit defense look like the 85 Bears and no chances down the field. Like, I don't think Trubisky threw the ball over 20 yards. They just kept running it. To give the Lions credit, they played great defense, but it's just pathetic watching a team have no urgency the entire game, and the fact that it was compounded by that's the only game you can watch just made it just hell. It was just hell. You know what? I don't know who could watch that game on the NFL Network, even if you're a Bears fan. Like, I was watching college basketball. Like, I couldn't watch it anymore. and to see Trubisky, like, you guys all watch my, videos, not to brag, but a lot of you guys watch it. And I do Trubisky film reviews, and it's like no one's even going to watch that because he's only throwing like 3-yard dump-offs. But
honestly, they unleash Trubisky when they're down late in the game, and then he starts throwing the ball.
Right.
And you would think they would have learned. Like last week, they dropped 31 on the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're not a pushover defense.
That's what I was thinking. Like, here, like, get some momentum for, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so I just thought, like, this was their week to kind of follow up on that. They had the momentum behind them. Trubisky had, I think, his best NFL start last week, and what did he have to show for it, It
was the worst. It was terrible. And I think that now Fox is going to get fired. And you look now at the Chicago Bears, and now Mitchell Trubisky's going to have to start from square one again. It's just a dumpster fire of a franchise, Yeah. There's certain franchises in the NFL, I think the Jets are the same way, where their offensive coordinator, they're so afraid of turning the football over that they won't actually play to win games and play to take chances. And the thing I like about Doug Peterson, at least, is plays. He goes for it on fourth down. You know, some coaches, I like how they're aggressive. Even Cam Newton last week was aggressive and played to win the game. And I really, you know, there's just such a divide between coaches in this league. Look at the LA Rams.
Yeah.
It's all about coaching.
You know what the situation kind of reminds me of is the San Francisco 49ers. But I feel like Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers are proving how to utilize a young quarterback and put him, who's just getting his first time in the NFL, and how to put him in a position to succeed. You know, you need to protect him, but you also need to set him up to succeed, to hit those short intermediate routes, to take some chances throughout the game. And so I feel like so far I've really liked what I've seen from the 49ers. And you would think the Bears, after Trubisky has had even more opportunities and starts than Garoppolo, would be getting those same opportunities, but that hasn't been the case.
You're absolutely right. And you know what I was going to say is about the 49ers. The 49ers are like that kid in high school, right? That's like a 5'2" kid who starts off as a freshman, and like, you know, he hits puberty late. He doesn't get with like any girls. He's kind of like, you know, considered an outcast, but then he just like he just prepares and works out like every day, and by the time like he's in 12th grade, like he's a stud and he's doing huge things. Like that's kind of an analogy, because you look, Andrew, there's some teams in the NFL like the Redskins, right? They have some wins under their belt that the 49ers didn't have. Remember, the 49ers couldn't even get one win, but the 49ers, they're loading up and they're building this train to go for the long haul with Kyle Shanahan. Like they're slingshotting themselves well, and even though they're not to that point now, it's just I could see the future, whereas the Redskins, they're stuck in the middle of nowhere, if that makes sense. Like even though they're winning games, that train is just it's headed in no direction whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, the Bears are like a team that sucks and they have no direction.
Yeah.
But the 49ers are totally that team, though. That's a very applicable definition, though.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think, honestly, like both teams, they're very similar in comparison, because they both have a pretty bona fide running gain with Carlos Hyde and Jordan Howard, respectfully.
And Breda.
But other than that, I don't think there's many key weapons or established weapons around either team. I guess you could make an argument for Marquise Goodwin, but it just shows how a coach and the right offensive strategy can make players better. It makes like everybody become a part of the offense. So you started to see that the first game with Garoppolo, Trent Taylor really showed up. You know, Garrett Selleck has been playing well, and Marquise Goodwin has been blossoming.
The fullback.
Has now been blossoming, and then it takes some pressure off the defense.
Trent Taylor, like Aldrick Robinson, all these guys. But here's my question for you. You mentioned Marquise Goodwin. This is a guy now that Shanahan has. If Marquise Goodwin were on the Chicago Bears, what would he be doing right now?
I mean, I think he would probably be putting up similar numbers to what Kendall Wright's doing right now.
He would be on the practice squad.
You think?
You know, I think he'd almost be cut. And that just shows you is that Kyle Shanahan coaches and make guys. Like make Marquise Goodwin. That's why that was the best example, because Goodwin was on the Bills. It's just, where can you go? Where can you be utilized correctly? Where could you flourish? And I look at the Niners, though, and John Lynch, he's not impulsive. Like in the draft, he did the trade, and I think Jimmy G is so much better. No offense to Trubisky, I think that he's a lot better than Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. So they get that for a second-round pick, which now looks genius. They have Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, all these defensive players. In like 2 or 3 years, like you're going to look up, and the Niners are going to be real.
Yes.
And the Bears, their GM is there. They have John Fox. They hang on to this old coaching staff. And you know what, Andrew? Like, there's not a whole lot of young coaches in the NFL that can really just step in and just deal like McVay. You know, like McVay.
I was just going to say, like, honestly, it really just shows the importance of an experienced, quality head coach. I just think, I just keep thinking about your boy, Sean McVay, and just how he has, in one season, turned the Los Angeles Rams around. and how many seasons did Jeff Fisher have? And he really just didn't bring out the best in Jared Goff.
Exactly.
And now we see everything clicking on
everything.
The offensive
Jared
side.
Goff would have been a bust. He might have been out of the league if Fisher stayed.
Yeah.
You know, because Jeff Garcia did an interview, and I'm going to get to Pigskin Pete's point in a second. You know Jeff Garcia of the Eagles. He worked on the Rams coaching staff with Jeff Fisher. He was like a quarterback. You know, he was just like an assistant coach, and he wasn't even Jeff Fisher wouldn't even allow him to interject or coach the quarterbacks. He said, "Stick to your effing role," which was pretty much not doing anything quality control. Damn. You know, so. Right here, Pigskin Pete, you know, just says Fox passing on Watson just shows how bad he is or how bad Ryan Pace is. I mean, in hindsight, it looks terrible, right? Because Deshaun Watson, I mean, there were some concerns about, like, can he throw it down the field accurately? You know, at the college level, people were concerned, like, does he have the arm strength to really be talented enough? And I saw in 5 games, like, again,
yeah.
You know, I think Deshaun Watson, I think he would have maybe won Rookie of the Year if he stayed healthy, you know? So I really think Deshaun is great.
Hey, honestly, not to get too ahead of myself, but I mean, I can't wait for next season to get here. I know this season's still happening currently, but I just can't wait for like this young group of talent at the quarterback position to perform next season.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't wait to see Deshaun Watson get back, Carson Wentz get healthy, with Jimmy Garoppolo starting to step up, and I think there's just a lot of talent at that position.
I think so, but I think these playoffs, Andrew, like getting to your point, are going to be tremendous.
No, of course.
And like, let's go through the quarterbacks and the teams last year's playoffs. I'll do that for you. So the first game of the playoffs at 4 o'clock, we had Brock Osweiler playing Connor Cook because Derek Carr got hurt. And that was a shitty, we could say that word on here, shitty game. The worst. How about Lions, Seahawks? Lions ain't making the playoffs. That game was a dud, okay? Matt Moore versus the Steelers? That was by far the worst playoff game I might have ever watched, okay? Then the Giants, Giants Green Bay, that was okay. Jabari's in the house. How you doing, man? I'm so glad my guys are coming here. Dilly indeed. From Bud Light, of course. It took me a while to actually get the Bud Light. But let's rattle off the quarterbacks. In the NFC, I know you have Nick Foles, who's pretty damn good. It's ironic that you have Nick Foles and Case Keenum are the top dogs in the NFC, but then you get Breeze, Wilson, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, all fighting for spots. Jared Goff.
So this makes me. I have a question for you coming from that.
Oh, okay.
Let's
go. I love that.
So if realistically the Eagles and the Vikings are going to finish at the top 2 seeds, would you trust these lower seeds who are going to be making the playoffs in the NFC with the more established veteran quarterbacks versus the likes of Case Keenum or Nick Foles when it comes playoff time and the game's tight on the line, would you be more confident with these other established players, and do you think they can pull out these victories?
Sure. I think that I think the playoffs are going to be tremendous, like Jabari's alluding to. Of course, I heard your question. I think that, well, first off, I think Foles and Keenum are going to be playing in the second round. So it's not just about the quarterbacks. I think that there's 2 guys in the NFC that can take their teams and win games anywhere, anytime, whether it's on Mars, whether it's on any planet, whether it's any freaking where, and that's Russell Wilson. He did that against Washington. Remember the RG3 game where he got hurt? He did that against Minnesota when Minnesota was up 9-0. He led them back, and everybody thinks about the kick, but Russell Wilson made some miraculous plays in frigid temperatures. He's a clutch customer. So Drew Brees and Russell Wilson on the road can win. You look at the other quarterbacks, Jared Goff playing in cold weather, I don't think so. You saw what he did against the Minnesota Vikings on the road. He looked awful. Yeah. Now, I think the game plan would be better, but they're a very young team. You look at Matt Ryan, he's never won a game outside of the Georgia Dome ever in the playoffs. Do you trust Matt in the cold weather?
Well, I just feel like the fact that he's been to the Super Bowl, that he's played in those big games, and he has a similar team around him, that if I saw the Falcons in the playoffs, I would personally be intimidated. I would be worried.
You'd be worried because of what, the team, or because of Matt Ryan?
I mean, I say the team and the talent around him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these guys are no pushovers. Devontae Freeman, that running game. Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu stepping up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it looks good on paper. I like Telvin Coleman, actually, even more because he can, like, bring the thunder, you know, on the road. You're gonna. I think the key for the Falcons, though, Andrew, is if Adrian Claiborne can get home, if Grady Jarrett, who looked amazing in the Super Bowl and has a pretty good season at tackle, if he gets home, and then Vic Beasley. So their defensive line, that's how you win championships. Atlanta is a little bit dangerous. I agree. I think they're even more dangerous than the Rams. We're going to do a little bit of questions now. Who wins the NFC West this year? I think Seattle wins tomorrow. And that's going to go a long way because then they would sweep the Rams. So who do you got tomorrow?
Is that game in Los Angeles?
It's in Seattle.
Ooh, you got to take the home team
in the
there.
Legion. Coming back, the Jags did light up Seattle. We were talking about should I start Cooper Kupp or not this week, and you think could the Rams move the ball in Seattle? If the Rams win that game, that would be a hell of a win for the Rams.
I mean, I think something that the Rams didn't do enough of last week was establish Todd Gurley. So I would like to see them kind of slow the pace down, grind it out a little bit. Right. I mean, I know Seattle likes to play games like that, but I think at the end of the day, I don't know if the Los Angeles Rams defense has enough to stop Russell Wilson and the many weapons that he has around him. And they're fine.
I agree because isn't Kayvon hurt for the season now?
Webster.
Yeah.
You might be right, yeah. And honestly, something that's it's going very under the radar, but they finally have their running back situation a little bit figured out. I mean, throughout the season, they're rotating between Chris Carson, who gets hurt, and then Eddie Lacy, and Rawls, and these guys weren't productive, and they're a run-first team. They like to run the ball. Yeah. So now Mike Davis is finally churning out some yards, so then they can utilize the play action.
Yeah, and then you can have you saw, didn't Davis catch a touchdown, or was it Carson who caught a touchdown against the Eagles on the wheel route?
That was J.D. McKissick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so not even related. All right, I'm going to read some comments here. Pigskin Pete saying he doesn't trust his Carolina Panthers. I mean, I think Cam Newton's just a winner, though. That's another guy that I left out of that mix. I even trust Cam to go on the road even more than I trust these other guys. Like
also, that was a huge win for them last week, taking down the Minnesota Vikings. Like the Vikings defense is not a joke, and Cam comes off in the clutch moments of the game, a 70-yard run. Jonathan Stewart ran the lights out of the ball that game, and they still have Christian McCaffrey, you know?
Sure. Like Sarkisian as an offensive coordinator, I'm not sold on him either. He's like a guy who kind of is like Lane Kiffin, gets a million chances, has a really good pedigree. I'm happy Sark's got in his life in order, but I totally agree. He gets way too cute at times. So now with the 49ers getting their quarterback, I think that I would like to see them. They have Witherspoon at Jabari Owens. I think that they have Witherspoon. Minka Fitzpatrick's a very, very good player. So I think you can also trade that pick back and get a boatload of picks. I don't think this is a deep tackle draft or offensive line draft. I mean, I know last year was a terrible, terrible tackle draft. You have to look at Derwin James or Minka Fitzpatrick, and then Jabbar, we're going to look at some sleepers, but I really like the kid. There's a kid out of Miami that I saw on the 49ers, Colbert, I believe. He played really well. So we have a lot of Niners fans here. We got a lot of Niner questions. Shu, before we kind of wrap up the live stream and everything, we're here on the East Coast, and I want to show the fans the sweatshirt we watched yesterday. And this is an all-sports podcast, even though we pay attention to the NFL. And seeing Jeff Van Gundy, and we're going to see ourselves on the delayed feed, trust the process.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeff Van Gundy.
It was awesome going into the commercial break. I called Spencer up and I told him Jeff Van Gundy going right before the commercial break saying, I trust the process now, you know, and it's an exciting time to be a Philadelphia fan. Like seeing Ben Simmons healthy and Joel Embiid playing together, and they took a team with 3 bona fide stars to triple overtime, you know. That's
I think it was so impressive. I think it's such an exciting time, and like the thing I love about Embiid is he still has a good relationship with these guys off the floor, you know.
Yeah,
like even Westbrook waving to Embiid, like the Sixers are so relevant now that they're even in the trash talking discussions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I really don't mind his trash talking either because, you know, he's a competitor, you know. He's putting his heart out there on the line every single night, and he's getting impassioned in the moment, you know. So stuff like that happens. We see it all the time with Russell Westbrook, opposite of him last night. Like,
it's just fun. I'm sure everybody that says like his trash talk's annoying, I'm sure they actually still watch basketball. So, you know, I'm sure that they're still doing that here. I really appreciate you guys watching. It looks like the Chiefs are going to win this game tonight. Well, actually, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Late touchdown by the if the Chargers win this, I'll be incredibly impressed, and it'll kind of be sad for Kansas City. I think that this is Alex's last. If they can't make the playoffs or what does Alex need to do to start next year? Like to retain his job? What does Andy Reid need to do to kind of garner some, stability with that franchise?
I think he's really going to have to win that one big game, when it comes down to it, and he's playing the Steelers maybe in the second round or first round, well, probably second round, or like the Patriots. Winning one of those games and proving that he can step up and deliver a masterpiece come playoff time.
Yeah,
I think that's really where it's going to come, what it's going to come down to. But as Pigskin Pete just pointed out, Mahomes he's waiting in the wings, and
Mahomes is kind of like McNabb. Don't you think? Alex Smith, I think Smith could coach. I really do. I mean, you have to. The thing about Romo, which is so crazy, I don't remember Romo ever doing interviews. So it's pretty interesting to see Romo just killing it at the broadcast game. And when you talk about players being coaches at the next level, I think Alex Smith, though, he definitely knows the game. The thing about Smith, why he's so successful, is he doesn't have a huge arm. But guys like Nick Foles and Ryan Mallett that have huge arms, Alex Smith is just really athletic. His footwork, he just does everything right, in the pocket, getting ready to throw. He makes good decisions, and just his footwork is key. And he could win a game. I saw Mark Sanchez go into New England and win a game. It really depends on that defensive line. That's what it comes down to in the postseason, and Kareem Hunt would need to run the ball. They already did it in New England once. I'm excited about Baltimore and Kansas City. I'm still clinging on hope because those teams have done it, and I wanted to get your thoughts on, you mentioned last night, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I think that's really something you should address to the live stream.
Yeah, I mean, last night Spencer and I were engaged in a little discussion of who we thought were those sleeper, underrated teams who could really step up in the playoffs and surprise some people. And I was really behind the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'll tell you why. I mean, it all starts on the defensive end. They're two I think Pro Bowl this season cornerbacks in Ramsey and Boye. They shut any opposing pass offense down, and they made some good additions on the defensive line. They have Calais Campbell. They just brought in a player from
Smith.
Yeah, they brought in a player from Buffalo Bills, a run stopper as well. Yeah.
Marcel.
Exactly.
What about this guy? Oh, my God. It's Jonathan Ndakwe.
Yeah. These guys are beasts.
But finally, the guys that they drafted, I thought Miles Jack was, not that great of a pick because he's Miles Jack can run a 4.4. Miles Jack can jump over a Mack truck. Miles Jack is a linebacker. He's a cornerback. He's a safety. He's everything.
Yeah.
So, and same with Jalen Ramsey. I don't like those players that are – I really don't like those jack-of-all-trades in the draft. That's why I think Julius Peppers, for you guys, I want to get this on record. That's why when everybody was talking about his kick return skills and everything, I'm like, he does everything. He doesn't do anything elite. He's a jack-of-all-trades, jack of none.
Yeah.
And – I think it's as simple as I just don't believe in Blake Bortles, like Pigskin Pete is saying. So
Yeah.
I just don't believe in Blake, like going on the road and winning. I mean, if Blake wins, that would shock me.
Yeah.
You know, he had one good week last week. He's had an okay season. It's amazing because in August they wanted to run him out of town there.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like he has the weapons around him, you know? Like, the defense gives him the ball. D.D. Westbrook is starting to establish himself. Keenan Cole.
That was a great pick.
Marquise Lee is really stepping in. And remember, they had Allen Robinson, who was their number one, who got hurt at the beginning. And Marquise Lee has really come in and solidified the position.
D.D. Westbrook, 4th round pick. I like the guy dominated at the college level.
Yeah.
You know?
And I still think Leonard Fournette, he's a beast.
Leonard Fournette will be back.
So I think if they can establish the run in the playoffs and allow Bortles to hit some play action passes or something along those lines, he could step up and surprise some people. That's
Absolutely. Jabari, Pigskin, everybody watching this, I want to thank you guys. Interesting comments about Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick on here. The comments just keep on rolling. Saturday night's a tough time. Hope you guys come back and watch the feed. Andrew Shue. The Shoe.
Pleasure as always.
Give him some props for coming on Rover Sports. And thank you guys for chiming in and watching. Enjoy the rest of the Chargers game and have a great Saturday night.